Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, as many of you have already noticed, we do have some changes in the battleground, some major ones, namely the deck size being deck size being 40 now, and ban count being 5 each. So in total we can get 10 champions banned, and that does have a ton of implications. For instance, you can now realistically ban an entire counter in somebody's deck for specific champions, be that, Dark Phoenix, or be that Captain Britain and Domino and whatnot. So it does change the Battlegrounds game mode as a whole quite drastically. And we're going to talk about that and some pro arguments and some counter arguments, because it's needless to say that the reception to this change so far has been overwhelmingly negative, and in a large way justifiably so. But before we actually get to the substance of the video, we do have to address number one, the corrected post that Kabam has made. And that kind of like points us towards our first issue that has to be highlighted. And that is the communication. I don't care what anybody tells me, Kabam has to be one of the most inconsistent companies when it comes to that communication. And they are perpetually garbage at that, regardless of what changes they promise us. They will improve on specific areas in regards of the communication for like new processes, releasing some dev diaries and mentioning specific things early on enough in the streams, like, 9.4 is going to be released in the April update and stuff like that. But then again, they will completely blindside us with as many or even more things that are perhaps even more important to the game, like the Prestige 30 thing being completely blindsiding us, that it also refers to AQ, or be that some other changes in the game, and most recently also the change to the battlegrounds, because a lot of the reaction here and the initial kind of pushback could have been dampened had players been given a warning. First things first, let's start with the fact that there's absolutely no reason why battleground season information should be released the day the previous season ends. Realistically, that should happen a week, 2 or 3 before the next season starts, so people can make more educated decisions based on what's going to be happening in near future, and then kind of like cross-reference them with the current metas, and then, do their rank ups, because that is one of the most frequently asked questions. Do we know the metas for the next season? And Kabam is, again, very inconsistent. Sometimes they will let us know metas for 3 months in advance, and then equally as many times we get to know this information the day of. There's just no reason for it. And Kabam's incredibly bad at kind of like sticking to a structure in this particular area of communication. And even if they didn't want to announce the nodes for whatever reason early on, the change to the 40 champions and 5 champions in a deck easily could have and should have been communicated in their previous live stream a couple of weeks ago. That would have given some people some time to acclimatize to that, and also, there could have been a more detailed discussion of their reasoning and what are the changes and what are the impacts from the Kabam employees on the stream, which is something that we're all having to figure out right now on the go. So before anything else, the communication is garbage, and that alone, I think, deserves them getting beat with a shitty stick. Metaphorically speaking. Calm down, all of you. Calm down. That said, also the fact that they had to adjust this post already, like on the day of making it, kind of highlights the point of them kind of being fairly garbage at communicating things. But the highlighted part, so the deck and ban expansion. Your champion deck size increasing to 40 and the number of banned champions increasing to 5 for greater tactical depth. This will revert back to normal size in Season 37. Now, in this case, I'm sure that plenty of people will kind of be happy about it. My kind of like, why do this in the first place, I suppose, if we already know that it's going to go back to old one. But either way, okay, we know that for now it is for 1 season only. Okay, that was and is a crucial information. And again, it is something that they should have posted here in order to kind of like lessen the backlash, because it wouldn't seem as permanent type of thing. Next thing, Rerolls, you will now get 3 rerolls per match. Again, the language used here, you will now get 3 rerolls per match with 1 available per round. You will still need to use the shuffle signets to pay for each reroll. And that is also crucial information missing, because this completely changes the math, especially, I think, also for the smaller accounts. Because if Kabam didn't require you to buy the shuffle signets, and you had a smaller account, but you could reroll 3 out of the 4 selection choices that you have, that could offset the impact that having a bigger deck with a smaller account would have. As in, like, whenever you see, for instance, theoretically, let's say, you have to include now 10 6-stars in your deck, which you otherwise wouldn't have. Whenever, if you have these 3 rerolls, whenever you do see those 6-stars, you would, you know, statistically be able to get away from them or exchange them and find the champions that you seek quite efficiently to a point where you basically never would have to draft those 6-stars, because you'd always have an option to kind of swap them away, or almost always. And that, again, could kind of like lessen the disparity created here. However, having 3 rerolls per match, I think, does nothing good now for the game mode, because most of the people will still not use these in 99% of the fights, because, you know, rerolls, why would you want to spend your currency on rerolls if you're not like that invested in the game mode? So people with smaller rosters will not necessarily get to benefit or choose to benefit from these 3 rerolls. And on the higher level, that will also just serve kind of like a unit cash grab, cash cow, because if you do want to make it, for instance, C5 or C4, you basically will have to reroll much more actively now, and that will cost you more to play the game mode. So by this, you know, okay, if Kabam reduced the cost of rerolls 3 times, that could kind of make sense. If Kabam provided these rerolls for free now and the retired shuffle signets, that would make sense. But this, again, to me, kind of screams like a resource burning strategy. So I'm glad that they did clarify this, because with this clarification, the change immediately seems a lot less player friendly, I would say. Now, all that said, and this is where I'm going to get quite a bit of slack from you. Before I say anything else, I want to say that I completely understand that this change is almost certainly very, very bad for 98% of the players in the game. For vast majority of the people playing Battlegrounds, this change is not good. And I can completely understand the points, because, again, the differentiation in between mega whales and, you know, more casual spenders or free-to-play players is just going to get increased all that much more. We still have a handful of people with relatively small accounts that are doing extremely well in Battlegrounds and managing to get into the C5, C4 spots, so on and so forth. And again, I perceive that it is going to be a much harder thing for them to keep doing that. Now, whether that's the case, we're going to see, but it's more than likely going to make it much harder for people to push higher in Battlegrounds to small rosters, which ultimately and definitionally is anti-player change, or anti-majority player change, which is pro-whale player change, right? On the paper, because we do not have the practical, you know, historical data for that. At the same point, and what I'm again about to say, I don't like the fact that there is zero communication. I don't like the fact how Kabam expressed themselves. I completely understand why 98% of the players playing this game do not like the change, because, again, it does seem like you can get absolutely blindsided by more defenders now based on the ban strategies. It does seem like this heavily favors larger, you know, players' accounts, and therefore reduces the skill expression in the game mode even further, which is never a good thing for a game mode such as this, which is meant to be also skill-based. That said, on a personal note, and before you pull out your pitchforks, I can't get insanely mad about it, because in the first video, I said I'd try it out. I can get mad for other people, or I can understand their frustration. I can forward it to Kabam and make videos about when people are mad. That is fine. On a personal note, and again, I did make this channel to kind of like say what I think, and not to make everybody else happy. So far, as little as I have tested, because I only played a couple of hours with this new 40 and 5 system, I actually didn't mind it. Yes, I do have a fairly sizable account with like 50 plus rank 4s. Hands up, that's me. Like I do have a fairly sizable. It's not like a massive whale account. I don't have a single rank 5. I'm not gonna get a rank 5 from the Coliseum rewards either, because they only placed 2 to 3% in the gifting event, and I didn't get any extra tier 5 alphas either. So I'm not like a massive whale, but I do have a sizable account. And so far, I genuinely didn't mind it. Now, it could also be that it would be different for more specific metas. It could be that I change my opinion as I play through the season and the competition kind of like gets more equal and more consistent. There are a lot of things that we don't know how this is going to shake out for, but you know, I decided that I'm going to play through it, play with it, and then I'm going to give my feedback about it rather than immediately getting super mad. And whilst again, I completely agree that Kabam is garbage at making these changes, and some of it definitely doesn't seem like pro player in any way how you shape it out to be, or much of it. In my testing thus far in off-season, I didn't hate it. I don't plan on skipping a season of Battlegrounds, and I didn't feel like, you know, it's absolutely unplayable now or something like that. But again, that said, I get why people are mad. I absolutely see how this helps more people with bigger accounts, which is something that, in my opinion, is not a great change for Battlegrounds. I can also see how this easily pushes more people away from Battlegrounds rather than towards the Battlegrounds, because it definitionally increases the requirement for entry. It increases the bar of entry, because Battlegrounds in its essence already is a game mode that's not designed for new players, and in all of the game modes existing in the game, it is by far and away the most demanding from your roster, where you do have to have a substantial amount of champions ranked up, compatible with the nodes, and, you know, capable enough to actually do something in Battlegrounds. And this just further increases it, which is, you know, absolutely, definitionally impossible to be helping Battlegrounds be more popular, be more played. So I don't quite understand this move at all from Kabam. I guess that is the biggest thing that kind of puzzles me a bit. This genuinely feels like, no matter which way you look at it, designed to have less people play Battlegrounds, because you are increasing the requirement of entry, and you're also increasing the disparity from bigger accounts to smaller accounts. So I think that is the big takeaway here. So some more, I don't know, discussion, information, justification, explanation would be very, very nice from Kabam on the subject, because we still haven't had any, you know, there's basically no editorial text, dev diary type of information available for this. So I think we, as a community, could really use one, try and kind of understand what Kabam's thinking, or see how they're selling this to us. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the